All right, welcome to your mat, yogis. Grab 2 blocks and set one block up under where your shoulder blades will rest, and the second block under your head, where your head will rest once you lie back. Come on to the blocks now, upper back resting on the first block, and the back of your head on the second block. Take a few moments to situate. If you need to lower the block under your head, it might feel a little bit more open in your chest. Make sure your chin doesn't feel like it's jammed into your chest. And then if you do lower that block under your head, make sure it doesn't feel like your chin is overstretched up to the ceiling. Place your arms in a comfortable position alongside your body and situate your feet, whether the feet are together, knees apart, or feet on the floor, knees together, or legs out straight in front of you. Wherever you place your feet and however you're situating your blocks, make sure that you feel no pain in your back, you feel space, and you're settled in a place where you can focus on your breath for the next few moments, breathing in and out of your nose. Be aware of the blocks supporting your body. And on the front of your body, be aware of that softness melting over those blocks. Feel your breath move in and out of your nose, always moving from your belly. Your belly pumps the breath in and out. And you can feel the expansion from your belly, lengthwise, peripherally, and 3-dimensionally. You're welcome to stay here as long as you'd like. You can pause the video. When you're ready, you can come back to center. Feet on the floor. Lift your knees back up. And take a few moments just to let your femurs drop back down into your hip joints. And then roll over to the side and take the blocks out from behind you so that you can return back to your supine position without any blocks underneath you. And take a moment here, as long as you need. And then when you're ready, lift your hips and place a block on its lowest height under your sacrum. See how that feels, and if you'd like a second block, you could lift your hips again and place the second block again on its lowest height, so the most surface area of the block is connecting to the other block. You might have to move forward or back to find the place where the blocks settle and traction out your spine rather than jamming your spine. Make sure your neck is open, and again, your chin isn't crammed into your chest. Let some weight drop down into the center of your heels and feel the weight of your hips drop down into the blocks. Once you find your body in a comfortable position, redirect your attention to your breath, moving in and out of your nose. Expanding again from the belly up. Be aware of all of the parts of your body that are connected either to the floor or the props. And again, notice the softening of the front of your body into that support. If at any point you feel any discomfort, definitely move. Resituate your toes. Maybe the toes point out. Maybe you need to lower down to one block. Notice the coolness of your breath moving in through your nose and the warmth of your breath moving out of your nose. And then again, when you're ready, we're going to move. If you want more time here, please feel free to pause the video and stay. When you do move, just remove one block first, come down to that one block, and then cross your right ankle over your left thigh. That second block now you can use in your right hand to gently press your right thigh away. The block acts as a little extension. You might not even need a block. Your arm might reach just fine. But keep your shoulders smooth, soft, and steady on the floor, and the back of your head relaxing on the floor. Keep your hips heavy on the block. And flex your right ankle as you use your right hand to gently push that knee open. All right, set the block aside, and still with your hips on the original block, hug your knees into your chest. So you can hug around the back of your left leg or around the front of your right shin. Keep the right ankle flexed. And here, the hug is going to create that external rotation in your right thigh that you were just doing with the block. Try to keep your shoulder blades evenly supportive on the floor. And again, the back of your head is gently resting. You can feel your belly probably expand into your legs here. Again, stay as long as you'd like. When you're ready, you're going to take that left foot to the floor and then stretch your left leg out straight as you hug your right knee into your chest. Let your left heel rest on the mat. And if this is too much for the front of your left hip, you could place your left foot back on the floor. Feel the front of your right hip get a little bit more space as you stay here with another breath or two. And then we're going to come back to the floor with the left foot, placing your right foot back down next to your left foot. Your hips are still on that first block. And now we're going to cross the left ankle over your right thigh and use your second block between your hand and your thigh as a little extension to gently rotate that left thigh open a little bit more. As you find that extra rotation, make sure to keep your left ankle flexed. And again, if you're using your hand to your thigh, try not to reach with your left shoulder. Both shoulders drop back equally into the floor. Soften your neck and jaw, and breathe from the belly in and up. As you're ready, you're going to set that block aside and then start to hug your right knee into your chest, whether you hug behind the right thigh or on top of the right shin. But remember to keep that left ankle flexed, because as you hug in, you'll increase the external rotation of your left femur. Think about hugging down with your arms, hugging down towards the floor. And that'll help ground you out a little bit more and soften into this pose so there's not too much of an active stretch here. There's a balance of effort and ease here. And then again, take your right foot back down to the floor. Hug your left knee in as you stretch your right heel away from you. And then once you get your right leg stretched out, let your right heel rest on the ground. Again, if this is too intense on the front of the right hip, bend your right knee and place your right foot back down on the floor. And again, think about hugging down with your left shin instead of out or up so that your elbows pull down towards the floor, keeping your chest open for the breath to move in and up to the tips of your lungs. And then with your next breath, you're going to take your right foot back up to the floor. Release your left foot down to the floor. And just a moment here, when you are ready, lift your hips and remove the block out from underneath your hips. You're welcome to stay there for just a few more moments in that supportive bridge. And then when you do come back down to the floor, we'll take a gentle twist with your feet just right where they are. Let your knees drift over to the left. And you can take your arms out to the side just to anchor you down. And then inhale, come up over to the right. Flexing the ankles. And you can stay on each side for a few rounds of breath, or if you'd like to take this more dynamically, you could come up through center and back over to the left. And then up and back over to the right. And just pair it up with your breath so that when you inhale, you come up through center. And when you exhale, you twist off to one side. Then we'll return back to center so that we can roll over to the side and come up through seated. If you're still working through those twists, please take your time and catch up when you're ready. I'm going to move into a forward bend. Both blocks now. I'm going to set each block, one under each knee, on the second height. And just start there. You might need to take them down a little lower, or you might want a pillow or a blanket rolled up instead of the two blocks. And then once you get your knees bridged, you're going to fold out over your legs. If you have any additional props close by, like a blanket or a bolster that you could put between your belly and your thighs, or your forehead and your shins, that might be nice to have here. You can just soften your feet here and really just think of this as a restorative forward bend. We don't care about alignment or over activating the body. We really want to go into a restorative pose here. And bowing your head and letting your forehead rest will do the job. All right, if you want to stay there a little longer, please do. I'm going to come up and I'm going to resituate those blocks. So I'm actually going to take the blocks down to my calves, underneath my calf muscles, right above the bony back of your ankle. And then I'm going to revisit that forward bend. So this could just be an alternative to that first setup or an add-on. Maybe too intense. So if you try this and it doesn't feel good, go back to something under your knees, maybe just taking the blocks down to a lower level under the backs of your knees. Here I do like to have some support for my forehead. Since my shins aren't so high, I'm going to stack my forearms on my shins and rest my forehead. And that also is a nice reminder to soften your brow, your eyes, and just your head in general. Just soften the thoughts and soften your jawbone. And if your eyelids are closed, soften your eyes behind your eyelids. Here you can feel the breath moving more into the back. So as you inhale and expand your belly, you can feel that breath move into the back of your body. Please feel free to stay here a little bit longer if you'd like. And as you're ready, inhale, come up to seated. I'm going to take my legs apart now. And those two blocks are end to end. And I've got the blocks almost acting like a little gym, like a shim between my two legs, like a little, a jam. Or crossbar, if you will. And I'm going to fold down to those blocks. I've raised mine to the second height. And you could even stack extra support on top of the blocks if you'd like. And then just fold down towards the blocks, relaxing your back yet again. Here my feet are a little bit more active. I've got my ankles flexed, pressing out through the balls of the feet. And again, feel free to stay here as long as you'd like. If you've got a couple extra breaths here, you can stay. If you feel really well and happy here, come out of it only when you're ready. When you do return to seated, inhale to lift back up to sit. Next, we'll cross the ankles in an easy seated pose with those two blocks coming flat to the sole of each foot. I'm going to take my right elbow to the floor, hook the end of the block with my fingers, and then twist open using my left hand on my left thigh to gently leverage the twist open. Move your head just where it's comfortable. So if you need to draw your head back or drop your chin in or rotate your head open on your neck, you can rotate as it feels best to you. But again, focus on the breath here into the left side of the body. Where are you opening and where can you breathe into that open space? All right, returning out of the twist with an inhale, come to seated. And then we'll go to the second side. Left elbow down to the floor, left fingertips hook the end of the block. And then your right hand on your right thigh to gently press open. And the twist is not so much about how much can you twist, but how much space can you get between the shoulders. So when you use your right hand to gently leverage this twist, it's not to fold to the side or to rotate more, really it's to get more space across the collarbone area so you can breathe into those lungs, the very tips of your lungs. All right, inhale to return out of that twist. And then you can set your blocks in the front of your mat. I'm going to come up into a kneeling position. Vajrasana. You can have the blocks handy. You might need them in just a moment. I like to just rest my hands on the blocks here. So Vajrasana is Thunderbolt. I'm sitting on my heels with my knees bent. And again, I'm just resting my hands on the blocks. It keeps my hands from falling down to the floor. It's an extra grounding moment for me. This is, I think, more mental than physical. So if it's not working for you, you can just set the blocks aside and rest your hands on your thighs. The beauty of this practice is that it is grounding, and it's a nice opportunity for you just to stop and check in with you. So notice your thoughts here, notice your physical sensations and experiences here, and not avoiding, noticing, not fixing, noticing, not criticizing, just noticing. As always, your focus is on your breath, so notice that breath pumping from your belly into your back and moving around your body, expanding three-dimensionally. If at any point in time this is becoming uncomfortable, you can move out of it. You can come to an easy cross-legged position. So as you're ready, go ahead and come up to your knees, and I'm going to add on to this into Virasana, hero pose. So I'm going to put a block under my sit bones. This might feel better than the previous. It might not. It might be worse. And if that's the case, again, you can come to a cross-legged position and sit easy seated. But this pose is so good for your knee health, the knee joint stability and mobility, and also for reducing back pain because it increases the mobility of your thighs and reduces the pull on your back from tight quads. So it might be 2 blocks that you need, and it might be no blocks. But here I'm just resting my hands on my thighs, and take a moment just to feel it in space, your ears over your shoulders and your shoulders over your hips so that you're not leaning forward or backward too much. See if you can release some tension or some resistance in your knees and your thighs. And if it's pain, it definitely needs to be adjusted. Something needs to be adjusted, the posture. Notice if you're gripping your jaw or your face, and try to relax those areas so your breath can really move with the most efficient flow possible. And we're going to move in just a moment. If you want to stay a little longer, please feel free to stay here for as long as it's comfortable to you, without any tingly toes. As you're ready, you'll take your hands back out in front of you and come back up into a tabletop position so you can remove the block from beneath you. And take your left leg up to the outer left hand outside of your hand. We'll come into a lizard lunge. I'm going to put a block under my right hand so I can press down into the block and lean over to the right a little bit. And then my left hand is on my left thigh. You could twist open here. You can lean over to the side a little bit more. So if you wanted to take your right hand with the block over a little bit even more off the side of your mat to the right side of your mat, you could lean out to the right to pull that pressure up out of that hip. Drop your left sit bone and stretch your right foot back a little longer. Keep your left shin mostly vertical. I'm going to grab 2 blocks now, so at this point I can forward bend. So you're welcome to add on or just stay where you are. If you want to fold down to the inside of your left leg, a couple blocks on the mat right under your elbows are a nice little prop. And that just prevents you from over-rounding, so you can still focus on your breath. Inhaling in and out of your nose. And you could even drop your chin in a little bit to activate that back line stretch. And then we'll take just a few more moments here, a couple more large breaths. If you want to stay a little longer, you're welcome to stay. When you're ready, come back up to your hands if you were on your elbows. And then we'll take the blocks up, one on top of the other, so my right elbow can come back down to that block. I'm going to take my left hand to my back foot now, so left hand to right foot. And now I'm in a cross diagonal stretch. If you don't need those two blocks, you don't need to use them, but I like the two blocks stacked so I can lean onto my elbow and give my hand a break. Plus, I just like to really lean back here and open into the twist. If it's hard to catch your back foot, you could always use a towel or a yoga strap if you've got that close by. Okay, and then one more nice big breath here before you gently release your back foot back down to the floor. And then come back into a hands and knees position. Hands on the floor, knees on the floor. A moment just to relax out of that hip opening. So sit back, hips to heels, balasana, child's pose. If your block under your forehead makes a better support, please do. I'm just going to rest my forehead on the ground, elbows rest on the ground, and hips to heels. And then here, feel that breath move from your belly right into your back. Take as long as you need here. When you're ready, we'll come back up into table and set that second side lizard lunge up. So rolling back up, inhale nice and slow. Tabletop pose. Right foot comes up around your right hand, so your hands are inside your right leg this time. And then I'm going to set that one block up under my left hand to start. And just an easy little twist open here. Keep your right shin vertical, your right heel driving down into the ground, and stretch your left toes back behind you. Again, if you want to walk your left block way off to the left edge of your mat, play with that. It could be directly under your shoulder, out to the side. And then leaning off to your left, if it helps to open up the right hip a little bit more, you could definitely turn your right toes out slightly, but be careful not to over rotate the shin. We want to go for length, not stretching out too much, just more length and more space. And be careful not to lean into your left shoulder too much. So open that left shoulder head, open the left collarbone, and soften your neck. Soften your jaw, soften your face. Okay, let's come back down with two blocks now. I'm going to set my two blocks up for my elbows. And if you've got something a little higher that you could use, maybe you've got a little stool close by or a chair, a little, I don't know, tiny baby chair. I don't know how a chair would work here, but yeah, be creative, have fun with it. But stretch your left toes back and then forward fold a little bit. And maybe it's just hands on the floor. It could simply be hands on the ground, bowing your chin in. And notice how if you just simply tuck your chin under, there's a wonderful pull on the back of your spine, the muscles on the back, the muscles connected to the spine. Sometimes when I tuck my chin in, I also feel more of a stretch and a shearing of the fascia on the front of my left hip and thigh. And so if that's too intense, maybe you need to lift your chin and lengthen it out away from you. Okay, so I'm going to double stack my blocks now and move on to the twist. So again, if you want to stay longer in any of these expressions, please feel free to stay longer. And maybe you want to go back and forth in and out of those different lizard lunges. And now I'm going to add in that quad stretch. So my left elbow is on the blocks, my right hand back to my left foot. And I'm stretching open with the right shoulder, keeping the right shin vertical, right heel driven into the ground. And the left hip slightly low, so we don't want to lift up onto the front of the knee. Stay more onto the bottom end of your thigh, closer to the knee. Okay, gently releasing your back leg. Take your hands to the floor so you can come back into tabletop pose. And again, just a moment here to come out of that stretch. Set your tabletop up for a moment. I like to let my back neutralize first and then exhale, round out, elbows down, and rest your forehead either on your forearms or the floor or a pillow or block. Please take as long as you would like here in tabletop or in child's pose rather, to relax and let your hips really sink down. When you're ready, then you could lift back up into table. And then we'll set up for a twist. Thread your left or your right arm over to the left. So your left arm to the right, it really doesn't matter which side you go to. We're going to do both sides. So whatever side you're threading to, you can take the free arm up above head. I like to put my hand on a block. So I've got my right arm through and my left hand up on a block on its lowest height. That helps me to roll through a little bit more and get more into the back muscles around the shoulder blades, the lats and the traps, and the scapula muscles. Keep both knees pressing evenly into the floor and keep your hips over your knees if you can. They can always move back a little bit. All right, take your hand back to the floor to push out of the twist. Little tabletop setup here, a little moving around if you need to. Take as long as you need to move around if you want cat-cow. And then stretch off to the other side twist. So now I'm going to thread my left arm through to the right. I'm going to put my right hand up on the block just to gently press the block away. Roll your right ribs open and then stretch through with your left arm. You could tuck your chin into your chest here and look back towards your inner thighs, and that might fire up that upper back stretch. And really direct that breath into the right side or your open side ribs, whichever side you're twisting to. Breathe into the open side. And then to come back out of it, take your free hand back to the floor, press up out of the twist, tabletop pose, cat-cow. Inhale, open your chest. And exhale, press down into your hands and your knees and round your back. Tuck your chin under. All right, and then we're going to come to seated so you can cross your ankles and sit back if you'd like to spend more time in cat-cow. Take your time, and when you're ready, move on to a seated position. I'm going to grab my 2 blocks and then come all the way down to the floor for relaxation. I'm going to take the 2 blocks right under the backs of my hamstrings, so they're under the middle of my femurs, the thigh bones, and let your legs relax out. Heels on the floor, backs of your hands and arms on the floor. Scoot your heels out away from you so that you don't feel like you're gripping your toes or your legs. And then let your shoulders soften down. So the shoulder head soften down to the floor, almost like they're rolling open. Armpits are open. If you need a pillow or a blanket under your head, if you feel like your chin is too far away from your chest, that'll help with the breathing. Once you're settled in a comfortable, soft position where you feel like you're just letting the ground hold you, just take the next few moments to focus on your breath. Breathing from your belly in and up, and feel the breath moving into the back ribs as they connect deeper to the mat with a deeper sense of support and softening into the floor. And let the front of your body open to the softness and the movement of your breath flowing in and out of your body. When you're ready, you'll start to move your fingers and toes again and place your feet back flat on the floor. And then hug your knees into your chest. Give yourself a nice little hug down. Again, a downward hug down into your belly. Keep the shoulders resting on the floor and the back of your head supported by the floor. And a few rounds of breath here. Feel your belly expand into your thighs. And feel the space moving into your back. When you're ready, we're going to move. Take more time here if you like. Just feeling really supported here. Take a twist, though, as you're ready. On your next exhale, let your knees drop over to your left and your right arm anchors out to the right. Soft breath here, yet still spacious and big. It just doesn't have to be a real big effort, just a big spacious breath. When you're ready, your next big inhale will lift your knees back up through center. And again, a nice hug, a big hug, squeezing down. And a big breath here. With a long, slow exhale, take your knees off to the right and your left arm anchors out to the side. Let your legs get heavy to the right and feel, again here, the breath moving. Slow, smooth, easy breath without any more effort than it's necessary to keep the breath paced out. All right, and then with your next big inhale, you're going to roll over to your right. So completely roll off to the right side. Pause here for a moment. And cushion your head with your right arm. And then only when you're ready, you're going to press up through seated. So please take as long as you need here. And then when you come to seated, an easy seated position. And take your hands to your heart. And just sit here for a moment, bowing to you, bowing to your practice, and bowing to all that you do here and everywhere. And spend a little time here with yourself, as much time as you can, just feeling your energy, your breath, and your gratitude for you. And I'll see you next time we get back on the mat. Thanks, yogis.